Dr. Sarah Chen stared at her computer screen, her face pale and hands shaking. What she saw couldn't be real. But it was. The files, smuggled from a top-secret Galactic Council database, showed pictures and reports of human children. Hundreds of them. All subjects of cruel alien experiments. Sarah took a deep breath and called her boss, UN Space Ambassador Michael Okonkwo. "Sir, you need to see this now," she said, her voice barely a whisper. Within an hour, the small UN office on Mars was packed. Michael stood at the front, his usual calm replaced by barely controlled anger. "What we're about to show you will shock and horrify you," he said to the room full of Earth's best scientists and diplomats. "But we must stay focused. The lives of our children depend on it." The lights dimmed, and Sarah started her presentation. Images flashed on the big screen. Alien labs with strange machines, charts full of data, and worst of all, human children strapped to tables or floating in tanks. Gasps filled the room. Some people cried. Others looked like they might be sick. But everyone felt the same thing. A mix of horror, sadness, and growing rage. "How long has this been going on?" someone asked. Sarah's voice shook as she answered, "Based on the data, at least 10 years. Maybe longer." The room erupted in angry shouts. Earth had joined the Galactic Council 15 years ago, thinking it was a step towards a bright future among the stars. Now, they realized it had been a terrible mistake. Michael raised his hands, calling for quiet. "We need a plan," he said. "Dr. Chen, what else can you tell us?" Sarah clicked to the next slide. The experiment seemed to focus on human adaptability. They're testing how our children react to different environments, diseases, even genetic changes. Her voice broke on the last words. A military officer spoke up. "Do we know where they're keeping the kids?" Sarah nodded. "We've identified 3 main research stations. All are in neutral space, outside Earth's star system." The room fell silent as everyone realized what this meant. A rescue mission would be seen as an act of war against the Galactic Council. Earth wasn't ready for that kind of fight. But they couldn't leave the children to suffer. Michael squared his shoulders. "We need to tell the people of Earth," he said. "They deserve to know the truth, no matter how painful." "Sir," a communications expert said, "if we release this info, there will be global panic. Riots. Chaos." "Maybe," Michael agreed. "But it's the right thing to do. And we'll need the whole planet behind us for what comes next." The next day, as the terrible news spread across Earth, the planet seemed to hold its breath. Then, as one, humanity roared in outrage. In New York, a crowd of thousands gathered outside the UN, holding pictures of missing children. In Beijing, millions of people formed a human chain that stretched for miles, all wearing white as a symbol of mourning. In Lagos, tech workers used their skills to hack alien databases, searching for more proof of the Council's crimes. Governments around the world issued angry statements. Military forces were put on high alert. And in homes everywhere, parents held their children close, tears in their eyes as they thought of those who had been taken. As night fell on a changed Earth, Sarah Chen looked out the window of her Mars office. She could see the faint light of distant stars. Somewhere out there, human children were suffering. But now, the whole planet knew. And Earth would not rest until every child was brought home. Sarah turned back to her computer. There was so much work to do. The Galactic Council had made a terrible mistake. They thought humans were weak, easy to control. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Because there's nothing in the universe more dangerous than humans protecting their young. The world changed overnight. Old enemies became allies. Rich and poor stood side by side. For the first time in history, all of humanity had a single goal: save the children and make the Galactic Council pay. In Washington, D.C., world leaders gathered for an emergency summit. The meeting room was tense. Everyone knew the stakes were high. U.S. President Elena Rodriguez stood at the front of the room. Her eyes were tired, but her voice was strong. We face the greatest threat in human history, she said, but we also have the greatest opportunity. Today, we put aside our differences and stand as one. The Chinese president, Li Wei, nodded in agreement. China offers all its resources to this cause, he said. Our factories will work day and night to build what we need. One by one, leaders pledged their support. Russia promised its best scientists. India offered its top computer experts. Brazil said it would turn its rainforests into hidden bases. As the meeting went on, a plan began to take shape. They would create a secret task force, made up of the best soldiers and smartest minds from every country. This group would have one mission: rescue the children and bring down the Galactic Council. But they needed someone to lead this force, someone brave, smart, and able to make tough choices. All eyes turned to Captain Amara Okafor. She stood tall, her dark skin gleaming under the lights, her uniform crisp and perfect. At just 35, she was already a legend. She had led impossible missions on Mars and Europa. Now she faced her biggest challenge yet. Captain Okafor, President Rodriguez said, "Will you lead this task force? The fate of our children, maybe all of humanity, rests in your hands." Amara didn't hesitate. "It would be my honor," she said. "We'll bring our kids home, no matter the cost." The room erupted in applause. For the first time since the terrible news broke, people felt hope. As the leaders worked out details, Amara slipped out of the room. She had a team to build. Her first stop was a small lab in Tokyo. Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka looked up from his computer as Amara walked in. His eyes were red from lack of sleep. "Dr. Tanaka," Amara said, "I need the best scientist in the world." "That's you." Hiroshi shook his head. "I'm not a soldier," he said. "I work with computers, not guns." Amara smiled. "Exactly. This mission needs brains as much as brawn. Will you help us?" Hiroshi thought of his own daughter, safe at home. Then he thought of the children who weren't safe. "I'm in," he said. Next, Amara flew to Moscow. In a dark gym, she found Sergeant Anastasia Volkova destroying a punching bag. Anna's fists were a blur of motion, her face a mask of anger. "Sergeant," Amara called out, "how'd you like to punch some real bad guys?" Anna stopped, sweat dripping down her face. "When do we start?" she growled. The team grew quickly. Lei Chen, a hacker from Shanghai. Dr. Mohammed Aziz, a brilliant doctor from Cairo. Jack O'Neill, a pilot who could fly anything. And many more, each bringing unique skills to the fight. As the task force came together, the rest of the world prepared for war. Factories switched from making cars to building spaceships. Schools taught kids how to spot alien spies. Everyone did their part. But the Galactic Council wasn't sitting idle. They knew Earth had discovered their secret. Their ships began to gather at the edge of the solar system. A storm was coming. In her new office on a hidden moon base, Amara looked at a photo of the missing children. "We're coming," she whispered. "Hold on just a little longer." She turned to her team, determination in her eyes. "Let's go save our kids," she said. The greatest rescue mission in human history was about to begin. The stealth ship Shadow sliced through space, its advanced cloaking technology hiding it from alien sensors. Inside, Captain Amara Okafor and her team prepared for the most important mission of their lives. "We're approaching the target," Jack O'Neill said from the pilot's seat. His hands moved smoothly over the controls, guiding the ship towards a massive space station hanging in the darkness. Amara nodded. "Remember the plan," she said to her team. "We go in fast, grab the kids, and get out. No hero stuff." Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka looked up from his tablet. "I've hacked their systems," he said. "We'll have about 30 minutes before they notice." Sergeant Anna Volkova checked her weapon one last time. 30 minutes is all we need," she growled. The Shadow docked silently with the alien station. As the airlock opened, Amara took a deep breath. "Let's go," she whispered. The team moved swiftly through dark corridors. Strange symbols covered the walls. The air smelled wrong, making their eyes water. But they pushed on. Suddenly, Hiroshi's tablet beeped. "Life signs ahead," he said. "Lots of them. Small." Amara's heart raced. They were close. They turned a corner and froze. A large room stretched before them, filled with glowing pods. Inside each pod was a child, floating in strange liquid. "Oh God," Anna whispered, her tough exterior cracking at the sight. Amara shook off her shock. "Move," she ordered. "Get them out." The team sprang into action. Hiroshi worked on shutting down the pods while the others carefully removed the children. Some kids were unconscious. Others woke up confused and scared. A small girl with curly hair opened her eyes as Amara lifted her from a pod. "Are you an angel?" she asked weakly. Amara felt tears in her eyes. "No, sweetheart. I'm here to take you home." Just then, alarms blared. Red lights flashed. "We've been made," Jack yelled through the comm. "You've got 5 minutes before this place is swarming with guards." Amara looked around. They had freed maybe half the children. "We need more time," she said. Anna stepped forward, her face set. "I'll buy you that time," she said. "Get the kids out. I'll hold them off." Amara wanted to argue, but there was no time. She nodded. "Good luck, soldier." As Anna disappeared down the corridor, the others worked frantically to free the remaining children. Pods hissed open. Kids cried out in fear and confusion. 2 minutes, Jack's voice crackled over the comm. Finally, the last pod opened. Amara scooped up 2 small boys, one under each arm. "Move out," she ordered. They ran through the station, a strange parade of adults carrying and guiding disoriented children. In the distance, they heard the sound of gunfire. Anna was keeping her promise. They reached the shadow just as a group of alien guards rounded the corner. Laser blasts scorched the wall next to them. "Go, go, go," Amara yelled as they piled into the ship. Jack didn't wait for the airlock to fully close. The shadow detached from the station and shot into space. As they fled, Amara looked at the scared faces around her. They had rescued over 100 children, but she knew there were thousands more out there. This was just the beginning. Suddenly, a battered escape pod attached itself to their ship. The door opened, and Anna stumbled in, her uniform torn and bloody, but a fierce grin on her face. "Told you I'd buy you time," she said before collapsing. As Dr. Tanaka rushed to help Anna, Amara turned to Jack. "Get us home," she said. "Fast." The shadow raced towards Earth, carrying precious cargo. Behind them, the Galactic Council's ships gave chase, but Amara knew they wouldn't catch them. Nothing could stop them now. As stars streaked by, Amara looked at the children. Some were sleeping. Others stared in wonder at their rescuers. All of them were finally safe. The first battle was won, but the war was just beginning. The news of the rescue spread across Earth like wildfire. People cheered in the streets. Families of the rescued children cried tears of joy. For a moment, it seemed like a great victory. But the celebration didn't last long. In New York, the Galactic Council's ambassador, a tall, blue-skinned alien named Zix, stood before the UN. His voice was cold as ice. "The attack on our research facility was an act of war," Zix said. "Earth has broken the peace treaty. There will be consequences." The room erupted in angry shouts. Ambassador Michael Okonkwo stood up, his face red with anger. "You experimented on our children," he yelled. "You're the ones who broke the peace." Zix didn't blink. "We deny all such accusations. Our facility was conducting important medical research. You have no proof of any wrongdoing." As the argument raged on, Captain Amara Okafor watched from a hidden base on Mars. She clenched her fists in frustration. They had the proof. The rescued children, the data they stole. But revealing it would expose their secret mission. "They're trying to bully us," Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka said, standing next to her. They think we'll back down. Amara nodded. But we won't. We can't. Just then, a light blinked on the communication panel. A message was coming in, coded and encrypted. Hiroshi's fingers flew over the keyboard, decoding it. His eyes widened. Captain, you need to see this. The message was from an unknown alien source. It read, "Brave humans, you are not alone. Many in the galaxy oppose the Council's cruelty. We offer our help. Meet us on the dark side of Europa in 3 days. Come in peace." Amara read the message twice. Could it be true? Or was it a trap? As she pondered this, more news came in from Earth. The Galactic Council had announced sanctions against humanity. No more trade. No more sharing of technology. Earth was cut off from the rest of the galaxy. World leaders gathered for another emergency meeting. The question on everyone's mind: what do we do now? Some wanted to apologize, to try and make peace with the Council. We're not ready for a galactic war, they argued. We'll be destroyed. Others wanted to fight back immediately. We can't let them push us around, they said. We must stand up for our children. As the debate raged on, Amara made her decision. She would go to Europa. It was risky, but they needed allies. She chose a small team. Herself, Dr. Tanaka, and Sergeant Anna Volkova, now recovered from her wounds. They took the Shadow, their stealth ship, and set off secretly. The journey to Europa was tense. They didn't know what waited for them, friend or foe. As they approached Jupiter's icy moon, Anna spotted something. There, she pointed. A ship. It was unlike anything they'd seen before. Sleek, silver, almost invisible against the starry background. A voice crackled over their comm system. "Greetings, humans. We are the Resistance." The voice belonged to Kira, a member of a species called the Novanites. Her skin shimmered like starlight as she welcomed them aboard her ship. "Many in the galaxy are unhappy with the Council," Kira explained. "They rule through fear and lies. What they did to your children, it's not the first time. But you're the first to fight back." Amara felt a mix of relief and determination. They weren't alone in this fight. Kira continued, "We can help you. We have technology, information. Together, we can expose the Council's crimes to the whole galaxy." As they talked, Amara's mind raced with possibilities. This changed everything. Earth might have a chance after all. But she knew the road ahead would be hard. The Council was powerful. The war would be long and difficult. As the humans prepared to return to Earth with their new allies, Amara looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, more children were waiting to be rescued. More wrongs needed to be righted. "We're coming," she whispered. "Hold on." The battle for the galaxy's soul had just begun. The secret underground lab hummed with energy. Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka stood in the center, surrounded by a team of Earth's brightest minds. On tables around them lay pieces of alien technology, salvaged from the rescue mission and gifted by their new Novanite allies. "Today," Hiroshi said, his voice filled with excitement, "we make history." For months, they had been working nonstop, reverse engineering the advanced tech. Now, they were ready to test their first breakthrough. Hiroshi held up a small device. It looked simple, just a metal cube with glowing blue lines. But inside was the future of human defense. "The shield generator," he announced. "If it works, it could protect our cities from any alien attack." Everyone held their breath as Hiroshi activated the device. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a shimmering bubble of energy expanded from the cube, enveloping the entire lab. Cheers erupted. People hugged and cried. It worked. Miles away, in a hidden shipyard under the Pacific Ocean, Captain Amara Okafor watched as Earth's first true starship took shape. It was a beauty, sleek and powerful, incorporating both human ingenuity and alien tech. "She'll be ready for her first flight next week," the chief engineer reported. Amara nodded, her heart swelling with pride. "Have you decided on a name?" she asked. The engineer grinned. "We're calling her Hope." Meanwhile, in classrooms and training centers around the world, people of all ages were learning to use new tools and weapons. Farmers studied how to operate atmospheric regulators to protect crops from alien bioweapons. Doctors practiced with molecular reconstructors that could heal almost any injury. But the biggest breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Lisa Chen, Dr. Sarah Chen's 12-year-old daughter, had been one of the rescued children. The horrors she experienced left deep scars, but also awakened something within her. One day, as Sarah worked in her lab, Lisa burst in, her eyes wide with excitement. "Mom," she cried, "I figured it out." Lisa had been playing with a broken piece of alien tech, a navigation computer. But in her hands, it didn't just work. It did things the aliens never imagined. Sarah watched in amazement as her daughter's fingers danced over the device, bending space itself on the holographic display. "It's like folding space," Lisa explained. "We don't have to go through it. We can just skip over the parts in between." Sarah's mind raced. If this worked, it would revolutionize space travel. They could reach distant stars in days instead of years. Within hours, the lab was buzzing with activity. Scientists and engineers crowded around Lisa as she explained her discovery. Her young mind, altered by alien experiments, saw patterns no one else could. As news of the breakthrough spread, hope surged across the planet. Humanity was no longer just catching up. They were leaping ahead. But with progress came danger. Spy drones from the Galactic Council were shot down near research facilities. Attempts to sabotage the new starship were narrowly thwarted. The Council was getting nervous. Humanity was supposed to be weak, easily controlled. Instead, they were becoming a threat. In response, Earth stepped up its defenses. The moon was transformed into a fortress, bristling with weapons. Asteroid bases served as early warning stations. Every day, the planet grew stronger. Yet Amara knew the real test was still to come. The Council wouldn't stand by forever. War was coming. As she looked out over the shipyard, watching the Hope come to life, Amara felt a mix of pride and fear. They had achieved so much in so little time. But would it be enough? She thought of the children still out there, suffering in alien labs, of the other races oppressed by the Council, of the future of humanity itself. "We'll be ready," she whispered to herself. "We have to be." The next phase of the conflict was approaching. And this time, humanity would not be the underdogs. The starship Hope hung in Earth orbit, its hull gleaming in the sunlight. Captain Amara Okafor stood on the bridge, her heart racing. This was the moment they had prepared for. "All systems ready," Jack O'Neill reported from the pilot's seat. "We can jump on your command." Amara took a deep breath. "This is it, people. Operation Thunderbolt begins now. Jump." In a flash of light, the Hope vanished from Earth's sky. Seconds later, it reappeared deep in Galactic Council space, right next to a massive space station. Alarms blared across the station, but before the Council forces could react, dozens of smaller Earth ships appeared, surrounding the station. "Fire," Amara ordered. Beams of energy lanced out from the Earth fleet, not to destroy, but to disable. Within minutes, the station's defenses were down. "Boarding teams go," Amara commanded. Led by Sergeant Anna Volkova, Earth soldiers swarmed into the station. They moved with precision, stunning alien guards and securing key areas. In the command center, Anna faced the station's commander, a tall, tentacled alien. "Your reign of terror ends today," she said, her voice cold. Back on the Hope, Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka worked furiously at his console. "I'm in their systems," he reported, "downloading everything. The galaxy will know the truth about the Council's crimes." As the battle raged, similar scenes played out across Council space. Earth's surprise attack caught them completely off guard. Key installations fell one after another. But the Council wasn't defeated yet. Their main fleet was rallying, preparing a massive counterattack. Amara knew they couldn't win a direct fight against the full Council armada. Not yet, but they didn't have to. All ships, initiate Phase 2, she ordered. Across the battlefield, Earth ships vanished, only to reappear near populated planets under Council control. They broadcast a message to every screen and communications device. People of the galaxy, we are not your enemy. The Galactic Council has lied to you. They have committed atrocities against children, against entire species. Today, we fight to end their tyranny. Join us. On planet after planet, the response was immediate. Crowds poured into the streets. Council buildings were stormed. Long-suppressed rebellions ignited into full revolution. Amara watched the reports flood in, her eyes wide. "It's working," she whispered. "It's really working." But the fight was far from over. The Council's loyalist forces regrouped, launching fierce counterattacks. Brutal battles erupted on dozens of worlds. Earth's advanced technology gave them an edge, but the Council's numbers were overwhelming. For every victory, there was a painful defeat. On a desert planet called Sarlon, Anna's team was pinned down by heavy fire. "We need backup," she shouted into her comm. Suddenly, the ground shook. A massive creature burst from the sand, scattering the Council forces. It was a Xarlonian, a native species long thought extinct. "We fight with you now," the creature rumbled. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. Oppressed species, inspired by Earth's example, rose up to join the fight. Back on the Hope, Amara coordinated the growing alliance. It wasn't easy. Many species had old grudges, complex politics, but the shared goal of overthrowing the Council united them. As the war entered its third week, the tide began to turn. More and more Council worlds fell or switched sides. Their once mighty fleet was in tatters, but Amara knew the hardest fight was yet to come. The Council's home system was heavily fortified, defended by their most fanatical followers. "We've come so far," she said to her crew, "but the real test is still ahead. Are you ready?" The response was immediate and unanimous. They were ready. As the Hope led the Allied fleet towards the final battle, Amara thought of all they had sacrificed to reach this point, of the children they had saved, and those they still needed to rescue. "This ends now," she said, her voice filled with determination. "For Earth, for justice, for the future of the galaxy." The greatest space battle in history was about to begin. The Galactic Council's capital world burned. Massive ships traded fire in the sky, while on the ground, soldiers from 100 worlds fought for control of the planet's key installations. Captain Amara Okafor led a small team through the Council's central compound. Every step was hard-won, but nothing could stop their advance. "We're almost there," Amara said, her voice tight with determination. "The Council chamber is just ahead." Suddenly, a group of Council guards appeared, blocking their path. But before either side could fire, a voice rang out. "Stop. No more fighting." A small figure stepped between the two groups. It was Lisa Chen, the girl whose mind had been changed by alien experiments, now a teenager. She raised her hands, and a strange energy filled the air. "There's been enough violence," Lisa said. "It's time for truth." With a gesture, Lisa activated the compound's communication system. Her voice echoed across the planet, across the entire galaxy. "People of the galaxy, hear me," she began. "I am one of the children the Council experimented on, but I am not a victim. I am the key to our future." As Lisa spoke, holographic displays appeared around her, showing evidence of the Council's crimes, but also showing something more, a vision of a united galaxy, free from oppression. "The Council's lies end today," Lisa continued, "but revenge is not the answer. We have a chance to build something new, something better, together." Her words reached every corner of the galaxy. On countless worlds, people laid down their weapons, moved by her message. In the Council chamber, the alien leaders watched in disbelief as their power crumbled. Zix, the once proud ambassador, fell to his knees. "How? he whispered. "How did it come to this?" Amara stepped forward, her voice firm but not unkind. "You forgot the most important thing," she said, "the strength of those you thought were weak." As the last pockets of resistance surrendered, a new challenge emerged: how to build a just galactic government from the ashes of the old. Representatives from every world gathered for a grand assembly. The debates were long and often heated. Old grudges and new fears threatened to derail the process. But every time conflict seemed inevitable, someone would remember. They would think of the children who had suffered, of the worlds that had been oppressed, and they would find a way forward. After weeks of negotiation, a new galactic alliance was born. Not ruled by a distant council, but governed by representatives from all worlds. Earth, once a newcomer to galactic affairs, now stood as a respected leader. As the new era dawned, those who had fought so hard for it faced new challenges. Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka led efforts to share advanced technology across the galaxy, breaking down the barriers the Council had built. Sergeant Anna Volkova, her fighting days behind her, trained peacekeepers from 100 worlds, teaching them to protect rather than oppress. Lisa Chen, her unique abilities growing stronger every day, became a symbol of hope and unity. She traveled the stars, helping heal the scars left by centuries of Council rule. And Captain Amara Okafor, she had one last mission. The Hope flew towards a distant, hidden world. As they landed, Amara's heart raced. This was the last Council facility where the final group of captive children were kept. As the doors opened and the children stepped out into sunlight for the first time in years, Amara felt tears in her eyes. It was over. They had won. A small boy looked up at her, his eyes wide with wonder. "Are we going home now?" he asked. Amara knelt down, smiling through her tears. "Yes," she said, "we're all going home." As the Hope lifted off, carrying the last rescued children back to their families, Amara looked out at the stars. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders. And now, at last, it was free. The story that began with humanity's darkest hour had ended in its greatest triumph. The future, once so dark, now shone with limitless possibility. And it all started because humanity refused to abandon its children.